Hey everyone, it's Nadine. I'm here today to talk about a piece of gear that I just purchased for my recent walk on the Rota Vicentina, or the Fisherman's Trail in Portugal. So I went in April of this year and I purchased a pair of gaiters for the walk. So I wanted to talk about them a little bit today, kind of explain what they are, let you know what I thought about them, and then talk about whether I think you'll need them on your next long walk or if it's a piece of gear that you might need to walk the Camino de Santiago. So gaiters, I had heard of gaiters before. It was just kind of something that I know other hikers sometimes wear, especially I've seen hikers on the long distance trails here in the US, like the Appalachian Trail, the Pacific Crest Trail. I see a lot of hikers wearing these. Not something that I've seen on the Camino a lot, and it's not something I ever purchased for any of my Caminos. But like I said, I did buy these to walk the Rota Vicentina in Portugal. And the reason I did that was that the trail, many of the stages, the trail goes over soft sand. And I had heard that this can be challenging walking, but also when you're walking over soft sand, your feet is gonna like kick up that sand and it could potentially get into your shoes. And so gaiters, basically what they are is this kind of like little tube of fabric, and it covers essentially the opening of the top on the top of your shoe. So here's my hiking shoe, and the gaiter just goes straight over this opening. So basically it prevents things from getting inside your shoes, keeps your shoes clean. And so this pair that I got is from a company called Dirty Girl Gaiters. And again, that's a company I'd heard about a little bit before. It seems to be pretty popular. Despite the name, these are unisex, so anyone can wear them, not just the women. One kind of nice thing I think about this company is that there's so many different styles and designs. They're really bright and colorful and fun. I think there's even a pair of gaiters with the Camino shells or arrows on them. And I was tempted to get those, but in what I would say true Nadine fashion, I got like the most boring, simple, plain pair, navy blue. But I think for most people who are more adventurous with their style and fashion than I am, there are lots of different designs that you can choose from. So anyway, this is basically what the gaiters look like. How they work, once I kind of wrapped my head around it, it wasn't that hard to figure out. There is this little hook right at the front, and that like hooks over your laces kind of on the top of your shoe. And then kind of on the back of that piece, it's going to be really hard to see, but there's a piece of Velcro here. And that Velcro attaches to the Velcro right here on the back of your shoe. So these are pieces that I added to my shoe. When you purchase the gaiters, you get like a long strip of Velcro, and you kind of can cut out the size that you want and you just attach it to the shoe. It's really helpful to do it with the shoe is clean, and this pair was pretty new before I used it on my walk in April. So I didn't have any problems attaching it. I've read some reviews that say the Velcro kind of falls off after a couple days. I was a little concerned that was going to happen to me, but this Velcro has stayed on throughout the whole walk. I didn't have a problem with that. And so basically you put this gaiter, you kind of pull it up over, your leg before you put your shoes on. So you pull it on, you put on your shoes, lace up your shoes, and then you pull the top part down, attach it over your laces, and then you Velcro this back part onto the back of your shoe. And I wasn't really sure, maybe I guess I was a little skeptical of how well it was gonna work. I kind of thought, are these gonna like kind of roll down my ankle, or are they gonna stay put? But I have to say I wore them every day for my walk on the Fisherman's Trail, and they stayed put. I found them to be kind of comfortable too. Like I didn't notice them so much once I had them on and I was walking. So I thought they worked really well, and certainly they did the job they were supposed to. I walked over a lot of soft sand on that path. Most days I was going multiple kilometers over soft sand, and again, I'm almost surprised by how well they worked. Kept all sand out of my shoes. No other dirt or debris got in there. So the gaiters definitely do what they say they're gonna do. And I would say for a trail like the Rota Vicentina, especially kind of like the Fisherman's Trail part of that goes along the coast where you're walking over soft sand, this was really an indispensable item. I would never walk that trail without them. You certainly can, and it's not going to be a huge deal, but I just think the problem is, especially if you're wearing a lower hiking shoe or trail runners, without the higher kind of boot, as you walk, again, you're going to kick up a lot of sand and debris, and it's going to get into your shoe. And I think probably I would have had to be stopping a lot to empty the sand out of my shoes. So I think on a trail like that, they were indispensable. The big question then that I'm kind of asking myself is, do I think gaiters are necessary for the Camino de Santiago? And I guess my short answer is no. I definitely don't think they're necessary. I think it could be an option for some people, and I don't think they can hurt. These are really lightweight. They pack down really small. So I do think it's an item you can add to your kit when you're going to walk the Camino. And I think they could come in handy, again, just to keep things out of your shoes. I think maybe if you're prone to, as you walk, kicking up a lot of stuff and you find that you're constantly shaking things out of your shoes, then maybe you might want to consider a pair of these. But generally, I think the terrain on the Camino isn't so bad that you're constantly going to be getting things into your shoes. I know that when I've walked, whenever I take a break and I take off my shoes, before I put them back on, I always shake them out. And often there's, like a little dirt or maybe a really tiny pebble that gets into my shoe and I, have to shake it out. But it's never so bad that I feel like I'm constantly having to empty debris out of my shoes or that it gets annoying as I walk. I just don't think the Camino is that kind of route where you're going to be getting a lot of stuff in your shoes. Possibly the exception to that could be if you're walking one of the coastal routes, so the Camino del Norte or the coastal Portuguese route, and you're going to be walking on the beach for some stretches, you might want to consider purchasing a pair of gaiters and bringing them along. For the most part, though, I don't think this is an item that you need to bring on your Camino. But one other thing that I was a little surprised about, but just didn't expect, was I found that wearing the gaiters kept my socks a lot cleaner. And so that would be maybe one of the unexpected benefits of it. I know when walking the Camino some days, especially on the Meseta or when you're really on a more dirt path for many kilometers, my socks will get so dusty and dirty. My shoes do too. And the gaiters do kind of protect that. So I found when I walked in Portugal, my socks weren't nearly as dirty. So that's a nice benefit. Again, I don't know that that's a big enough reason to take these on the Camino, but it could be an added benefit if you do. So that's my kind of quick review of these gaiters. I really thought they were a great purchase. Again, for my hike in Portugal on the Rota Vicentina, I thought they were absolutely necessary. For the Camino de Santiago, I'm going to say not so much. I don't think you need to bring these, but I'd be so curious to hear. Chime in the comments if you have taken gaiters on the Camino, if it's a piece of gear that you wouldn't do without. Let me know if you've ever heard of gaiters before, if you'd consider using them. Always curious to kind of hear what the conversation's like. Okay, everyone. Well, thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll be back with more soon. Buen Camino.